Simon Wallace, you are Global Head of Real Estate Research and Strategy at DWS. Thank you for joining us on BiTV.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Over the last few months, DWS has acquired 2 build-to-rent operations near Paris. Its first acquisitions on this sector in France. What attracts you to this type of asset, which is still in the beginning stages in France?
It's a good question, but look, this is a sector that we at DWS have got a lot of experience in. But remember that the residential rental market in Germany is certainly the biggest in Europe. And look, this is an area that we, over the last 5 years or so, have been expanding greatly across Europe. So we've been active in the Netherlands, up in the Nordics, the UK, Ireland, down in Spain, and now the French market. So I think Paris in particular is a natural evolution for us. It's not the easiest market to get into, and that's probably why, in terms of our move into the residential sector, it's been later than others. Look, it's a relatively small residential market, rental residential market, and there is less sort of institutional stock of scale in the French market at the moment, which does mean you're often having to develop the assets into the French market. But I think importantly, the occupier fundamentals in Paris, across many French cities, remain very good. And I think that demand for good quality, affordable residential fundamentals, occupier fundamentals, are clearly favourable. And I think that's really important right now, particularly as we've got the risk of recession at the moment. And that's why residential is so important in any portfolio.
Okay. Thank you. And therefore, maybe the question is, what do you think differentiates build to rent from other residential asset classes for an investor like DWS?
Yeah, and I think it really is that quality of income that you get from the build to rent sector. And look, we saw it throughout the pandemic. We saw it across Europe throughout the pandemic, but we certainly saw it in the French market as well, that even in those periods of stress, again, where it's good quality and affordable residential, and affordable is the key here. We're not targeting the luxury end of the market, but affordable resident build to rent continues to perform very well through periods of stress. You get high occupancy levels and you get continued income growth as well. And there is an inflation hedging element to residential as well. We're seeing at the moment across many European markets that wages are growing. And yes, there is cost of living pressures, but residential, your house, your home tends to be the most necessary. Alongside food and energy, your housing is the most necessary thing you're going to buy. And therefore, there does tend to be an inflationary element, inflationary hedge element here as well. I think, though, it's important for me to mention that we are strongly in favour of other residential parts of the residential market as well. Build to rent is only one of many elements there. So for us, we have a strong strategic call on sectors like student housing, on co-living, on senior living, and without a doubt, the French market for those sectors remains a strong. We have strong attraction to those parts of the market, and I would expect over the coming years we will be active in those parts of the residential market in France as well.
Okay, and yeah, to that end, maybe that's something that I wanted to ask you also. Let's say more generally, what role does residential property play in DWS's investment strategy in Europe in general and in France in particular? And how do you see it play in the coming months and years as let's say the market environment is, shall we say, uncertain?
It's very, very much the case at the moment. But look, residential is without a doubt a major part of our European and French investment strategies. I think if we look back for a moment, if I look over the last 5 years, we've more than doubled our exposure to the residential sector over the last 5 years. And then when I look at, say, some of our core funds, for example, and look at their allocations and their target allocations at the moment, we're targeting those pan-European diversified core funds, an allocation to residential of somewhere around 35% as well. So this is a very large part of our portfolio is being exposed to and targeting the residential market. And I expect that to remain the case. I think, yes, the makeup will be different within the residential sector. And going back to what we just talked about there, I think we will be adding more student housing. We've been active in the student housing space, particularly in the UK, but I expect to see that across the rest of Europe. The co-living space, co-living, it's niche at the moment, but it's growing in cities like London and Paris, where you've got a large number of graduates and a large amount of internal and external migration as well. And then senior housing, again, very attractive market. The French market, actually one of the most evolved senior housing markets in the whole of Europe at the moment. So an attractive market with clear, obvious, we all know the story about an aging demographic, clear demand drivers there. So yeah, residential, big part of our strategy, and I expect it to remain the case for many years to come.
Well, thank you very much, Simon Wallace, for this insight. It's always a pleasure to have you with us on BiTV. Thank you all for joining us, and see you soon on BiTV.